workshops is doing 3 breaths together, just because this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And of course, things sometimes come up with this topic. So if you're open to it, you can just rub your palms together, placing one hand on your heart, one on your belly, breathing in through the nose, and exhaling out through the mouth. Breathing in and exhaling out. And breathing in and exhaling out. And we open up the sacred space, calling in our guides and ancestors in love and light to come support us, calling in our highest self, and bringing our body online as you're here in the present moment. Beautiful. Okay, so thank you guys all for coming to 5D Sexuality and changing the frequency of sex and intimacy. So my name is Olivia. I am an intuitive sex and intimacy guide, and I truly believe that spirituality and sexuality is not separate. And as I started to go on my healing journey and explore myself and really understand myself better, I really found that our creative essence is our sexual energy. This is a life force energy. It is what keeps us alive and really what allows life to flow through us. I guide singles and couples on conscious intimacy. So within that space, there's a lot of realizing parts of yourself that you may have rejected and integrating those parts of yourself so that you can show up authentically, not just in your romantic partnerships, but in all your relationships. Within that space as well, there's a lot of reprogramming of the nervous system, right? So how we are able to receive love and give love, this has been shaped by society, culture, and how we grew up. And with my journey, a little bit about me and my story. So I was always the girl searching for love, always seeking love externally and outside of herself. And maybe it was Disney, you can blame it on that. I was always looking for that Prince Charming. And in this journey, what I found is really I was just so disconnected from myself. I found later on that there was this term called love addiction, which something is crazy, is like, how can you be addicted to love? Like, this is something that, we're all supposed to receive and be able to have. But when I started to explore some of my patterns in dating and relationships, I realized I had a lot of codependency. And this codependency was this almost neediness and attachment for love that was always the seeking of external outside of me. And to be honest, I didn't even know that it was possible to source love within. I really thought people are like, oh, love yourself. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I know what it feels like to receive love and for someone to give me love. So that was a new concept for me. So you can say that 6 years ago, I started my healing journey, right around, it was my first breath work. It was the shortcut to meditation. And what I experienced in that breath work, it was this altered state of consciousness where I had an out-of-body experience and really felt that the instructor, as she was bringing a blanket over me, the amount of love that I felt from a total stranger was unimaginable. It was this level of love that I was like, holy crap, like this person doesn't even know me. So the fact that they could be so selfless and hold such space, I was like, there's something here. There's something about meditation and breath work that we all need to explore more of. And that led me to my trajectory of exploring different modalities and seeing, what works for me. But when it comes to healing, I was still focusing on doing the work, right? So I was like, let me try this, let me do this. But it was still from the mind. It was only until I stumbled upon Tantra and really went deeper into the emotional side and the somatic side of healing that I really saw that nobody could give me this answer that I was seeking externally, whether it was around sex, love, and relationships. It was something that I had to really find within. And this is where I found that the body has the answers. So during the pandemic, we had a lot of time. I was able to go deeper into all the things that I wanted to learn about that I didn't have time for. So I got back into tarot cards, I was reading all the books, and then I stumbled upon this book called Transcendent Sex. So Jenny Wade writes this book of 100 accounts of people who've had these sexual experiences where they go into a past life, or they are in the sexual experience and they feel a guide there or an ancestor there. And I thought, wow, how crazy that something like sex can get you to this level of love and multidimensionality. Now, this is before I even started any of my trainings and certifications. So this was in 2020. And one thing that I remember from Jenny's book was that she really said that this occurs spontaneously, that there's actually, you cannot really train yourself to do this. There was no method of it. And for me, that didn't really sit right. I was like, all right, I don't want to just wait around to have this transcendental sexual experience or wait for the right partner to come along. I was like, there must be another way for me to access this and really tap into the state of pleasure, of bliss, of ecstasy that everyone talks about. And then I signed up for the Layla Martin's VITA program, which is a vital integrated tantric approach to sex, love, and relationships. So I was trained in the neo-tantric ways. She took her classical tantric teachings of 20 years and really created her own method. And within this method, I really developed a beauty and love and appreciation for Tantra. Now, within the tantric space, there's a lot of taboo, you can say. Most people think that Tantra is just around sex. I'm going to go into some of the details that I really want to hit home around Tantra. But I also want to say that within starting this and taking this inspired action, that is really when I was searching for my purpose, I started to step into this work and realized, holy crap, when I was practicing on sessions with people, when it came to sex and intimacy, it came so naturally and all my gifts started to unlock. So I started to realize, holy crap, maybe what they say about doing things in past lives, maybe it's real, because it started to come alive in my world. So within that, I specialized in men's sexuality as well as tantric sex for couples. And then I became a best-selling author, wrote We Are the Sacred Feminine Rising, a co-authored book with 12 other women, and I was certified in Theta Healing. So Theta Healing really now projected me into this more of trajectory of understanding not just the somatics, but the mind and the belief systems that we create, as well as knowing that there is a way to reprogram your beliefs through the theta brainwave state, as well as asking creator, asking intuition. So what is Tantra? So Tantra is the expansion of consciousness, leading us to connect to our real divine self and liberate ourselves from illusion. So this is what I hope and wish, that as Tantra becomes more popular, that people really can see that this is a way of thought and a teaching around consciousness and around really bringing this physical and spiritual world together. So Tantra is a Sanskrit word for woven together. So as I started to really understand and explore some of these mystical states, I wanted to know, how can we make the mystical practical? How can we bring some of these transcendent states into our reality just, from our body, not through some external substance? Within Tantra, it is also known that your body is not separate from spirituality, that actually your body is a vehicle for manifestation, and that through your sexual awakening, you can achieve spiritual enlightenment. Another huge thing is that Tantra accepts that desire is the fuel and the first driving force. So it's actually us going towards our desires that we can realize our true selves, as well as understand and tap into that self-love. And once again, so desire is natural, and any repression of desire is unnatural. Partly too, I believe that with hopefully some of the new tantric teachings that are coming into play, we can see that integrated sexuality is very important. That's why there's certain gurus, certain spiritual teachers that may have reached this enlightenment and this consciousness, but because I believe of their unintegrated sexuality, there has been, power abuse and things within the space where there's lots of sexual abuse with a lot of these gurus. And Tantra really does teach you that you are your own guru, that all this knowledge is within, that you don't need anything externally. Of course, it's beautiful for someone to guide you and hold space, but it's when we really reclaim the power of our body and our wisdom within that we step into our power. All right, so here are the 3 concepts that changed my sex life forever. So the first one is that you control your sexual experience. Now, I don't usually like using the word control, but what it does say is that you are empowered to alter the way that you are having sex, the way you're seeing sex, and how you're experiencing it. So this completely takes you out of the victim mentality and puts you more into the creator mentality. So you no longer see, the sexual experience is like, oh, well, like you're doing this wrong and that's not enough. You start to take ownership of how am I showing up into the experience? What is it about me that I need to understand or learn about when I show up in the experience? Another thing is there is consciousness in everything, including sex. So there's a saying that sex affects your consciousness and your consciousness affects how you have sex. So within that space, the more you become aware of your beliefs, your limitations, the resistance you have in your body, any subconscious beliefs, you're able to bring that into light, bring that into awareness, and it starts to change your experiences. Now, of course, I'm sure you're aware it's going to change your experience in your day-to-day life, but it also comes to intimacy too. And your body is alive and it's talking to you. So because your body is conscious, it is really crazy how much intuition we hold within our body. And within my teachings, when I started that tantric path, there was a lot of learning about how to listen to my body and what it was saying. And it's even funny to me that you can literally just breathe into a part of your body and it starts to talk to you. Like one of the main exercises that I do with clients is breathing into the mind, the heart, and the sex organ. And you start to realize, actually, they're having conversations. Sometimes they're not aligned. Sometimes they have different desires. So how can we really be more aware of what our body wants and each parts of us want to bring that more into alignment? Oh, and your partner's body parts are living things too. So once you start to enter into the consciousness space of intimacy, you start to realize, regardless if you're alone or with a partner, you're going to start hearing things. So either it's your own subconscious programming, or you may even start to hear or feel within your partner. So that goes to for anytime, certain partners have, repressed emotions or anything that is still keeping them restricted. On some level, you will be able to feel that once you start opening your awareness to this space. And so this whole topic is around 5D sexuality, right? So I'm sure most of you know that we are going through our ascension process, but I just wanted to bring this up as we talk about 3D and 5D. Now, for me, this ascension process, I believe it's happening naturally, and most of us probably, if you've meditated, you've probably accessed the 5D in some format, but I do believe as we are going towards the 5D, we're going to be able to hold that state for longer. So 3D, what is 3D? Third-dimensional reality is more ego association, really focused on the self, a lot of control, separation, still those feelings of fear that really run most of your, or I could say majority of your life. Linear thinking, so really just seeing black and white, not really seeing the limitless potential of things. Huge one as well, the victim mentality, and cool. And then as we're moving on, 4D, to be honest, it's interesting because nobody really talks too much about the 4D, but the way that I feel it is explained is really it's the bridge. It's the bridge as we get into 5D. Because within 5D, there is unity consciousness. There's more alignment with the divine, with your soul, with your purpose. You start to see yourself as the co-creator, that you are co-creating with the universe, and that you can, intentionally create anything you desire in this reality. There's more effortless, there's more ease, there's abundance, flow state. And one huge thing is also your senses become more activated. So from my practices, my teachings, and I do owe it to plant medicine as well for opening some of those doors for me, I was able to tap into the multisensory experience of your body and of really sensuality. The more that I start to see that we're going towards activating more than just our five senses, it is going to become just this otherworldly experience where time is really happening all at the same time, and all of your versions and parts of you are going to be able to come and play, and perhaps we're going to be able to choose, what we want to step into. All right. So, well, what does that mean 5D, 3D when it comes to sex, okay? So 5D, multidimensional. So that means being in touch with the five senses, really being in the experience fully from an embodied way. So your body is actually leading your sexual experience, not so much your mind. Also being in a more free and liberated state. Within that free and liberated state, your body gets to open up, you get to open up energetically, and you're also able to access more sensations, more feeling states within your body, especially when it comes to pleasure. The sexual energy is lighter, less dense, and it has a greater capacity for healing and creating. So I think that we are now coming into understanding that our Kundalini and our life force energy is healing, but I still do believe that there's a lot of work to be done to see how powerful the body is and how sacred the body and this energy is. And the opposite of that would be focus on performance, really being like, okay, I want to get to that orgasm and this is the goal. And if it's not happening, I'm not satisfied. Having a fixed agenda where your mind is leading, really being disconnected from the body, as well as not being aware of your desires or being unintentional, which I will talk about intention as well here. Once again, focused on your ego. And when it's focused on your ego, it's seeing that you're using sex to manipulate or to get something from someone versus seeing the sex as something to really take you to a new understanding or a new self-realization. And more restricted and compressed, that's when it's the body has more tension and the energy and the flow of pleasure isn't able to be as expansive. All right, so how do we tap into more of this 5D states of sex? So here are the main keys that I have found that are most important. So from the mind perspective, it is mindset. So mindset going into the experience. Is your mindset that, oh, hey, I can't wait to learn something new about my body or my partner's body? Or is the mindset, oh, well, I'm never turned on and I'm not going to feel anything this time? Next would be intention. So as I mentioned, we're going to go deeper into intention because I think intention is the number one thing that we are missing, and it's the easiest thing to implement. So as you know, maybe, has anyone here used a lot of intention in their day-to-day life? Okay, beautiful. So the next step would be taking it into your sexual experiences or your dating experiences. So being able to express what your intention is, because someone's intention to just release stress from the day is going to be different than someone's intention to connect deeper and to connect souls and merge hearts together. So knowing that intention before going into the act will help you navigate, is this something that I want to say yes to? Or maybe I should wait for another opportunity. Focus and experience, is your mind wandering to your to-do list and to what you have to still get done? Are you really able to focus on your body, on your sensations, and on your partner's body? Being in tune with how is their body moving? Are they really enjoying? And then next would be more from the body aspect, so the breath. So the breath is a huge expander into all parts of life, but especially when it comes to sex. And what I found is within the tantric way, breath is really used to activate the energy as well as being used to release energy. And when we activate breath that is more slower, that is actually from the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, we're able to really go into calmer states and release some of the anxiety that may come up in the experience. Sound as well. Oftentimes we are, what we see within the movies or within porn is specific types of sounds that are based on performance. But actually there are sounds that your body makes and the different vibrations it can emit to help liberate the energy and open your body to more pleasure. Movement as well. So being able to move from your body's intuitive space rather than how you think you should move or how you think you should perform. And sexual training. So within this sexual training really is a large focus of energy, of really learning how to move the energy in your body, how to circulate the sexual energy through each chakra to change and transform the energy into lighter density. Which I will be speaking on that as well. And then emotions, so as I say, energy and motion. This is huge, being able to really allow your emotions to come up. So knowing that it's okay to cry, it's okay to really express these emotions, knowing that emotions are your superpower, that they actually have wisdom and knowledge. And the more that we can be empowered by our emotions, the more that we can change our experience to how we live day to day. And sexual healing, of course. So based on how you grew up and your experiences, there may be some trauma that is stored in the body. Within that space, so if you've read that book, The Body Keeps Score, it is, yes?
How about sex toys? Can it help with that info?
Yeah, so my theory on sex toys is if you've never experienced an orgasm, having that vibrational toy to experience that first orgasm is great. But once there is a reliance on the toy or the really it's the reliance on the toy, then we're moving away from our body, and still it comes into like a form of addiction as well, I see. So I recommend more like glass toys, and a lot of like when it comes to sexual healing, I do a lot with women with de-armoring the vaginal wall, knowing that it's a muscle and that there's certain pressure points. If you can release those, press on those areas and release, it allows the body to open up. So I recommend glass and crystal, and yeah, more just like having a relationship where there's not a reliance, but there is a more of exploration. And within sexual healing, I didn't mention, but it also ancestral trauma. So the more that we can heal some of our ancestral trauma, our sexual experiences start to change. We become more open and liberated. Now, this can look in different ways. What I found in my personal journey is that I've had experiences where I'm healing perhaps not just my experience, but maybe on a collective level, as well as maybe my father's trauma. So it is interesting how all of this plays into it. And of course, with epigenetics, as we know, we do pass down our experiences. So intention is the easiest one to implement, so I just wanted to speak to this a little bit more. So intention setting is an art. It is what sets the stage for your experience. And whether it's in your meditation, plant medicine journey, or lovemaking, intention matters. So the power of intention. So this was huge for me when I started to move away from expectation and being in my mind. So bringing your intention inward, right? Intention. It pushes you to find that deeper truth that's in alignment with your heart, with your soul. Now, today I'm not speaking too much on desire, but there's are desires within us that some are conscious and some are unconscious, but the more that we can go deeper and start to express to ourselves, what do we really want? You know, what is our heart, what is our soul truly desiring? We become more aware of who we are and the next steps we can take. And it allows space for a greater power to guide you. So once you set that intention, it's almost like you are allowing the universe to co-create with you, and you're no longer in this game alone. So you are then officially allowing other forces to come and support you. And is true beauty with my practice of intention. And it is almost like what matters, not the intention itself, but the belief you have behind the intention. Because if you believe that that intention will happen, I mean, that is really where the magic happens. And so within those experiences, what I found is when you set that intention, you allow for your guides to come in. You allow for the ancestors to come and support you. And it begins to be this unfolding of not just what your mind and what you need to do, but really how the world and how your body is guiding you. And then awakening creativity. So while you may not always experience your intention directly, it is part of the unfolding and the unveiling. So it is more you being able to tap into this enjoying of the process rather than focusing on the outcome and being still in that mind, logic, expectation state. And then, once again, it's just different from a goal mindset, which in Western society, we're so trained to be goal-oriented and focus on logic, and this is that new space of going into the body. So now you have your intention, and now what? And this is where sex magic really gets juicy. So as I started my tantric learnings, I had an experience. So before even I started learning, I had an experience during the pandemic where I was meditating and I put some sacral chakra hertz on. And I sat down, I was meditating, and I just started to breathe. And almost like something was guiding me and telling me to breathe, to hold my breath, to release. And all of a sudden, as I was breathing, I started feeling this immense amount of energy start to buzz within me. I mean, it was like my lower body was buzzing. I was even producing fluids. And I was like, holy crap. Like, this is happening with the meditation. It's not from me watching porn or like me thinking about or fantasizing. This was pure me being open to an experience, not having any attachment, and just exploring. So within that space, I really learned that all my issues around sexuality or partnership or dating, it was never about the other person. It was always about me and my body. So I started to reclaim and take ownership of my pleasure, knowing that if I can get in this state on my own, then there must be a way that I can take this into my partnerships. So sex magic, what is it? Well, it's summoning energy locked inside the body and using orgasm as a vehicle to manifest, and raising your sexual vibration intentionally. Now, the cool thing about sex magic is you don't have to do that with actually having physical sex. You can do that just through embodied breath, which is something that I'm a big fan of. And also, what was it, a quote that magic is just science that hasn't been understood yet, And because right now there's really not that much, even before I was doing this presentation, I have a lot of my experience, but I was trying to see like, okay, they have Aleister Crowley, who has a little bit on sex magic. Judy Hall has this great book on the magical sexual practices of ancient Egypt. So I took some of her interpretations more from the Egyptian side of the chakras. And what I've found is that in my personal work, really the chakras to me are data centers. And as I started to tap into more of this conscious intimacy work, I was able to scan a body and the chakra would start talking to me. It would say things like, oh, I'm feeling this, or at this year, like at 7 years old, the boy in class didn't like me back and now I have this issue. So I started to see that the chakras are not just, whether it's closed or open, it's literally keeping and storing all of this information. And on top of that, it actually is able to tell you and explain to you what your body needs or what you really need to allow it to flow, to allow the energy to open up more. So within sex magic practices, it really is about taking your sexual energy and cycling it through each chakra for around 3 to 5 minutes. And as you're bringing the energy through each chakra, you are getting more in tune with the specific energy center. And within that space, you're learning about the desire of that chakra. You're also learning if you have some resistance in that chakra. You're learning if you need to release or let go of any emotions that are blocked there. But within this process, you are moving the energy through your body and you are beginning to activate and awaken these energy centers so that you can flow more, so that you can be more in that liberated state to access, the pleasure, the knowledge, the wisdom within. So I just wanted to share, where most of us know that the 7 chakra system, this is the 9 chakra system that I really like. It just includes the Earth star. So a huge thing in my work, which I'll get to, is I created this experience called soulgasm. So what I found is it is super important to be connected to this physical reality, because what I see in spirituality is a lot of ungrounded energy. Hello, welcome. So what I see is a lot of this ungrounded spirituality where there's a disconnection from the lower chakras. So you can say that probably in Western society, we focused a lot on the upper chakras, and the lower chakras have been neglected due to, on one sense, maybe repression, control, because once you reclaim your sexual energetic power, you see that you really have the power to heal your body, to create, to manifest. So huge thing is the Earth Star. So I make it super important to connect to the Earth Star and to the Earth itself, so that you can travel higher when you start to go into these altered states of consciousness. So from the chakras, as you can see, each one has a specific flavor to it, as I like to call, and a specific purpose. But when it comes to sex, I'm going to just start to explain the chakras a little bit when it comes to sex and intimacy. So your base and root chakra, as you know, it's your will to survive, your trust, your safety. And what I've found is anyone who is feeling, so oftentimes if you are feeling stuck, or you're frustrated, sexual frustration loves to live here, your inability to let go, to surrender, being able to really start to connect more with that root and that base chakra, knowing that surrender is actually an active process. It is not passive. So to surrender means to choose. There is also a lot, I believe, on a collective level. Surrender is maybe through war is seen. There's a density in surrender around, win-lose, right? To really give up and surrender. But no one really talks about the power of surrender. And the surrender is such a powerful state because it's you being able to have complete trust in whatever happens. It's you having trust in your body, in the universe, in creation, in yourself. It's truly magical. All right, and then the sacral chakra. So this is the seat of our creativity, our sexuality, our energy, our pleasure. And what I found is if this area, there's some resistance or blockage, sometimes it comes up as infertility. If we look at creation, if there is a disconnection from your own creation, from your own womb space, then of course the body cannot hold the creation that wants to take place on the physical, as well as on the, whether it's a project or a physical baby. Also, lots of shame. So I would say that probably the greatest, the emotions that are keeping us still so constricted and playing small is shame and guilt. So of course, through religious programming, but as well as shame that we have around self-pleasure, right? The fact that even as I say the word sex, you may start to notice constriction in your body, and really being able to really be aware of, where am I still holding on to things that I could really see in a new light. And to be honest, majority of my client work, it's how do you have better sex? Well, you heal your inner child. So you heal those parts of you that you may have rejected, that you were shamed for, that you were caught. And those all really shaped your belief systems of what you see around pleasure, around sex, around relationships. And which leads me to the solar plexus, which is a lot around your willpower, right? So your even your perception of control, of being in your power. When this area is, there's like this powerlessness and also your emotional center. So what I found is we actually absorb a lot of our emotions from others within this area. And when this area is healthy and flowing, we have a more empowered relationship to our emotions. The higher heart. So not everyone talks about the higher heart, but in Judy's book, she explains it as the heartseed chakra, and it's multidimensional spiritual will. So within this chakra, it connects you to your soul purpose and connects you to your divine plan and your reason for reincarnating. So within my sex magic practices, what I found is this chakra just started naturally becoming activated in the process. And within my work, as I started going deeper, it was really through this chakra that I was able to see kind of the bigger picture and the bigger plan when it comes to my work, or as I'm stepping into and seeing people coming in and healing sexual energy in the space. And then, of course, your heart chakra, your seat of the soul. This is where judgment can reside. So the more that we can release judgment about ourselves, about our sexual experiences and intimacy, the more we can tap into this flow. And throat chakra, of course, miscommunication, not speaking up. So as much as I want to teach couples how to get into ecstatic states of pleasure and bliss, sometimes we need to take it a few steps back and just go back to expression, right? Communicating our desires, our boundaries, as well as our intentions. And third eye, this is where a lot of illusion can be. And within the sex magic practices, when we take the energy up into this area, we're able to actually tap into seeing ourselves and our partners in our multidimensionality. So this is where you can experience your past life connection. You can experience yourself in another lifetime, as well as the light language begins to become activated when we're able to bring the sexual energy to this space. And then, of course, last is the crown chakra. This is unique consciousness, where your connection to spirit and wisdom, clarity, and the beauty of connection with spirits. Now, all right, so this is where I birthed Soulgasm, a tantric experience. So for those, I'm not sure if any of you have been to my workshops, but for the last 2 years, I've been facilitating this workshop. And it is really my way of bringing sex magic to life. And I always make jokes that even Joe Dispenza is doing sex magic. He just calls it something else. And so within my practice, I've found with over 350 participants that were able to experience this. I facilitated over 30 groups. Around 50 couples have come to these workshops. And usually the distribution is like 75% women, 25% men. In the Soulgasm experience, so what I found is, as I mentioned, that book that I read, Transcendental Sex, that book also never really talked about you doing sex magic solo, which I really want to stress that Tantra is not just for couples, right? It's not just when you're partner. Tantra can be done on your own. And it is through these states of sex magic that I was able to achieve some of this like understanding and merging with the divine, and really developing this relationship with the goddess, with God, with Creator, seeing that I'm so supported, I'm not alone, and I'm so guided. And so within these experiences, sometimes you're able to see visions. You're able to either get future glimpses of what you're creating or what you want to create. You're able to feel transported to other locations. What I sometimes call is, sometimes you feel like you're literally in another dimension, that you're maybe on a different planet even. And it is the state of being able to travel between worlds. You can experience waves of heat, energy, light. People oftentimes experience a lot of physical sensation. So you're feeling a lot of vibration, what I call energetic pleasure, as you're beginning to activate these energy centers and move them through your body. Sometimes you feel like you are one with nature. You are completely connected, with the trees, with the plants. I've done a lot of sex magic as well in nature, right? Being able to experience pleasure with a tree, with plants. It is once you enter into those 5D states of sexuality, sexual energy, it doesn't hold the density that we have in our world today. It is so pure. It has an innocence that is truly blissful and magical. You can also relive your past lives. I've had couples oftentimes experience their soulmate connection. One couple was able to experience that their partner was actually, she was a princess, and her partner was her brother in that lifetime, and her partner was able to help her get her voice, right? So, right, it doesn't make sense. It wasn't sexual in that lifetime, right? But it is this soulmate connection, knowing that there is this greater journey between you two and what's bringing you together. So yes, you can be visited by guides, ancestors. And the last workshop, one of my friends, he had a beautiful experience where his grandfather came to visit. And in that moment, he realized that his grandfather is a guide in this lifetime, once he passed away. So know that within this space of 5D sexuality, it's really more energetic. It is not what we really see sex as it is here. It is mostly a energetic form where merging and union and soul connection is truly high vibrational in your state. Yes, as I mentioned, dissolving into the void. Sometimes you go into nirvana, samdhi, where you're able to just float endlessly in this nothingness, but in that nothingness, that is where thought begins to create your reality. So with that being said, would you guys like to, do you have any questions? Because I have a little activation for us, yes.
When you're talking about the chakras, like so many female are living in the masculine energy right now.
Yes.
They have to.
Correct.
So therefore, it's hard to go to that place where you talk. Like in the 5D, I feel like a lot of us we are living in a 3D because we are in the masculine energy. So how would you go to the 5D?
Within Tantra is knowing that there is there's a marriage within, between the masculine and feminine. When we can bring our internal state to balance of the masculine and feminine, I'll say honestly, of course, like you can't reject our reality that is patriarchal. There's a lot of growing that still needs to be done, but it does start to change how you're seeing the reality. So it no longer becomes, oh, when they change, I'll change. It becomes, let me start to change now, and let me just see it. If I change, how do my experiences differ? So I have noticed as well as, I've worked, like, old me was like, I saw a man that was like crying. I was like, ew, stop crying. Like, what are you doing? And once I started to learn what it is to hold space for myself, I started to realize, wow, I also had it wrong. I wasn't able to see, men in the masculine and compassion. And that was just a reflection of how I saw my own masculine. I was super critical, always feeling that I'm not doing enough, this isn't good enough. And when I started to tap into more the feminine state of, it's not even flow, it's really the feminine state of being, right? Of allowing, of receiving. I had to go through my fears of receiving, feeling unworthy to receive. I would say a lot of us still have core wounds as unworthiness that hits so home, and even being afraid of even receiving love. So it's like, because I even see it as like love is so high vibrational. If you grew up sensitive and you grew up sensitive to energy, your nervous system still needs to recalibrate to be able to hold that amount of love. So on an energetic capacity, there's levels that I see that we can get to when it comes to understanding our own masculine and our feminine and what they need, right? It's more of like, it's yin and yang, right? So I don't even like using masculine and feminine, but it's definitely a journey. And same thing with intention. I would say explore with intention. So I did a huge one. I was like, my intention is to surrender to the masculine. Whew. In that experience, I'll just share this because it's a fun story, but it was a yoni massage. So it is a massage that's internally in the vaginal wall. And my intention was to surrender to the masculine, right? I wanted to access these like states of receiving pleasure. I felt like I was always good at, maybe getting the orgasm in my own way, but not really receiving it, right? And so I remember, I was in the massage experience, discomfort was coming up. It wasn't painful enough for me to say stop. But in that process of, my intention surrendered to the masculine, I was like, oh yeah, I'm finally going to be able to like let go with a man. And I start to feel all this emotion and energy come up. And at one point, I almost like a guttural sadness and cry comes out. And in that moment, what I experience is an out-of-body experience where I'm saying sorry to me. And I'm saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the times that I said yes when my body said no. And that's when I realized, holy crap, we're talking about, rape and sexual abuse, but like how much abuse are we doing to ourselves? When we disown our intuition, when we went against our body and listened to our mind. So that is a story that I share, that as much as the mystical, you do have to you have to be open to stepping into the unknown and to what maybe people call darkness or the shadow. But truly, to me, once I started going into that place, I realized, darkness is just absence of light. And when we show more light into that area, we're able to have a whole different perspective. So I softened around, okay, I clearly need to go easier on myself. Like maybe I'm being a little too intense. And it started to change in that sense. It started to change the level of, partners I was attracting, as well as how I was showing up in my experiences. So for this, you're just gonna sit comfortably and you're gonna start to breathe into your heart. And I invite you to even explore just allowing gentle sighs on the exhale. With each exhale, really just releasing anything from the day. And as you breathe into your heart space, feeling that energy connecting to the base, to the root center of the earth. Breathing that energy into the heart space and just thanking your body, knowing that from this day forward, you're going to be open to seeing it in a new light, in a new way. And coming back into the present moment. Thank you guys so much. I just want to add here, so this is the QR code. I have my business cards. If you sign up with your email, you get a free sex magic meditation. It's like a breathwork practice. All right, thank you.